So I'm on the BJJ Fanatics website, and I see 3 new videos by some guy named Thomas Radzinski. You familiar with that guy at all?
Nope, absolutely not.
No? Well, he's got some good stuff. Three brand new videos. They're getting amazing reviews, which is good to see as well. But you got to tell us about them real quick?
Yeah, I had, you guys already know, but I had opportunity to go to Boston, shoot 3 more instructionals, 1 on butterfly hook, complete guide for butterfly hook, 2 wrap, lapel, and submit them, and 3 we have taking the back. It's particularly designed for guys for over 40 because there's no climbing involved. All the back takes are on the ground. Very, very full and effective system. So dip into it. I'm really hoping that this is going to help your jiu-jitsu and really take it to the next level.
BJJfanatics.com. Just search ROZDZ. We have all had that situation where after class is when we want to ask a question. And Thomas, a lot of those questions you've already answered, right, at Ask a Black Belt.
Yeah, it's another podcast that I'm running. It's on podcast, all podcast platforms, plus on YouTube. You can find it anywhere. Just search for my name. Search for Ask a Black Belt. At this point, over 100 episodes, different questions, jiu-jitsu, life-related, but something that everybody comes across, and often these questions sink in our mind, but we don't ask for whatever reason. So if that benefits you, go there, listen. It actually might help your jiu-jitsu, might help your life as well. And if you have any questions, find me on Instagram and drop me a line. I'll be happy to answer your question and mention your name during the episode.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we alive.
Here we go. We were enjoying ourselves. I thought we were recording, but we weren't. So all my jokes just went nowhere into the ether.
There was no jokes.
They went to the ether.
That's the point.
If a joke falls in the empty room, right? If a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound?
Great conversation with Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron's a cool guy, man. I met him. I was lucky enough. Did you know him before last December? Did you meet him the first couple times we were out there?
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to meet him, hang out with him for an evening while we were in California in December. And super cool guy. Super, super nice guy. And which is good because he's a monster.
Yeah, I was there last week. I was in Burbank last week, and then I ran into him. I ran into him after he was smashing somebody, and then we shook hands, and then I just realized how small my hand is. Oh. But he's such a nice guy. And he like immediately he goes like, "Oh, we should just record a podcast here while we're here, while we roll, And it was so cool. I mean, he's such a great guy.
Yeah, super nice, super cool, super smart.
So rich in philosophy and then thoughts about life.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of it comes from the education that he has inherited over his life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of schooling, and he didn't even talk about it, but he was EMT for many, many years.
We talked about that when I was out there because I did that for a long time too.
Yeah. So like there was a lot of that, but one of the things that really stuck with both of us as far as that conversation with him was that grit, that ability to overcome challenges in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we learned during the conversation that some of that came from his father.
Right.
And it's immediately, it brought my mind into that point, how much impact we have on other people. Sometimes, most of the time, is even unintentional. Just the things that we say.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, the things, how we behave. And sometimes, it's intentionally you're trying to give somebody advice.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, you're not trying to give them advice. You're not trying to school them. You're not trying to help them even. It's just a conversation. It's just something that unfolds. And I think many times, especially when we're dealing with the younger generation, I mean kids, I don't mean like, one generation below us, but like actual kids, ours or even here at the academy, there's plenty of kids that, we say things and they might actually take that with them for a very long time. And sometimes a simple phrase, simple comment could really carry on for many, many decades in the future and really make impact on people.
Yeah, and he brought up that he used to have to go to work with his dad, and he hated it. And he told his dad he hated it, and he didn't want to do it. And his dad said something in Armenian that roughly translates, Arin said, to "there is no no." And I think there's different ways to apply that. You know, I think what his dad was saying is we have to get up and provide for the family. We have to go to work. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know, what you were saying opening here. My son, I found out yesterday in the evening, right before his bedtime, that so they have a prom at summer camp. It's really, whatever. But they're having a
Prom like a dance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to go, which is fine. You don't have to. But a girl asked him to go with him.
Uh-oh.
And he said no. And I said, did you tell her why? That you're not going to be there?
Yeah.
He said, no. I just said no. And I was like, well, guess what you're doing tomorrow? And he was like, what? And I was like, well, tomorrow, you don't have to go to the prom. You don't want to go. That's fine. I'm not going to force you to go to that. But you're going to tell her tomorrow why you said no. She needs an answer, right? Because I said she put herself out there for you.
How did that conversation go?
I think he got it. And I actually brought up something when I was a kid. I was in 5th grade, and a girl asked me to go bowling with her. And I said I was going to go, and I chickened out. I didn't go. I was nervous, and I stayed home. And that haunts me to this day. Now, I went through the rest of grammar school with her, and I think I even confessed at one point I was just so nervous that I couldn't go. So Angie Gomez, if
you're listening,
Gary still feels bad about that, not going bowling with you. But so tying that into what we're talking about is like, you have to do that. And when he got up this morning, I said, what are you doing today? And he said, I'm telling Quinn why I'm not going tomorrow, or that I'm not going. And that's why I said no. It wasn't that I don't like you, or, listen, dude, you don't have to explain that. You don't have to go into detail, but just say, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you the reason I said no is because I won't be here.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's what's interesting about just today's world, that is so easy to unplug, disconnect, ghost, disappear, in a sense, that a lot of that human interaction gets lost in translation. It's very easy not to respond to people. It's very easy not to answer the phone. It's very easy to not respond to the text message, or, even deeper, just not accept something, and in many points of life, like that's aggravating to me personally. Like, I think we all owe ourselves this point of simple communication, just simply saying yes, no, whatever the case might be, in order to keep it open channels of communicating back and forth. But kind of going back to there is no, that's another challenge, I think, in today's world, where we do set unrealistic goals. We said we're going to do something, and then we change our minds, and oftentimes it's just things don't get done just because there is no tangible reasoning behind some of it, and I feel like it's hard to maneuver through these things. I don't know how you feel about this.
Well, I looked at it at two different ways, right? Because I think I was assuming that you were going to come at it from like the goal aspect of it. Like Armin he wanted to be a world champion, and even though he would lose and he would be devastated, he would let it go. He would let his emotions get the best of him, but then he would say, okay, now back to the drawing board. How do I stay on task? How do I keep moving forward? I looked at it a little bit more like what his father was saying, is there's certain things in life that, to me, are unacceptable to not try and fulfill. Providing for your family, being a good parent, treating people with respect, you know. And do you make mistakes? Of course you do. And I think you can change the path for those things, but that's only adjustments that you're making to get to that end goal. So I have a job. I'm providing for my family. I'm miserable. I need to set myself up in a way to pivot and make myself happy while still providing for my family. Not just pack it in and say, oh, well, you know what? I'm miserable. I'm not gonna work anymore. Or, you know, I know people that packed up and moved out of the country, leaving their family behind for their own happiness. And I wouldn't have been a good father if I did it. Well, you're not being a good father now. Like, so, you know, I think you can, to get to finish the task, you can pivot, you can move around, you can change your plans, you can adjust your goals. But like he said, there is no. You still have to do it. You have to.
Yeah, so like you refer to those things that we must do. They're unnegotiable. You know, right. I look at this even a little bit deeper in the sense of things that you commit to. So like I try to never say that I will do something if I know I won't do it. Like you'll never get that answer from me. Like I'll never commit to something if I know I'm not capable, it's unreachable, it's unrealistic, whatever the case might be, you know. And that kind of falls into what you were describing. Like, you know, being a good father, it's just not negotiable to me. Like that comes without, you know, my kids come first, no matter what. It's my job is important to me. You know, I'm gonna do everything to protect that. I would do everything to take on all the responsibilities and everything that falls into that, right? Like we are responsible for other people too. So like all that, but it also goes one step deeper. Like if I put my word that I will do something, I will do everything that I, you know, to achieve that goal, you know, especially if I committed to somebody else or somebody else leaning on me. Now, you know, and I feel like sometimes that it's easier to say yes to somebody just to get them off of our backs, and then things disappear in a sense, you know. Like we don't hold on to the true word of what we promised we would deliver in a sense.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I do. And you know, now we're certain people's personalities can maybe put them in a place where they say yes to something, and it's not a flippant yes. Like I'm just
Oh,
you mean he wants to hear.
Somebody caves in, and
yeah, they cave, right? And it's like, oh, they cave in, and now, oh shit, how do I get out of this? And the easy way to get out of it is to not address it.
Well, but that's
right. So this is what hey, I made a mistake, and man, I really shouldn't have said yes. I apologize.
But this is what I mean by that. Like, I think it's very easy for us to just disappear in a sense, or forget, quote unquote, forget or ignore it, versus having those tough conversations and, you know, adjust necessary things. Like, I don't listen to Joe Rogan at all, actually, but or rarely, I should say. But I remember there was one episode with Kevin Hart. This was a few years back, and he talked.
Two of the shortest comedians on the planet. If you put them on top of each other, they're the same height as a regular comedian.
But the Kevin Hart was talking about his mom. One of the lessons that he learned, and his mom was saying, "We don't quit. We finish everything that we start." And it was just interesting to listen to it, because there's a lot of passion behind it. Like you can tell this was one of those life lessons that he has learned as a young boy or a young man, you know. But I think there's a lot of behind that. Like I feel today it's very easy to just don't do things for no reason, stop things just because we don't feel like it, and it's way beyond that. And listen, today I think it's just my thoughts, but today, if you want to be successful, it doesn't take much. It's very easy. I think a lot of people give up. If you stick around long enough, the success will come. And there's a lot of just simply falling off the wagon.
Yeah, there is. And there's a ton of different people put themselves out there and put themselves into things that they, you know, like bring it back to Armin. Went to law school, hated it, right? because he had an idealized version of it in his
Mhm.
head. And then when he got there, the reality was different. So when something like that happens in your life, you have two options. You ghost everybody and you stop showing up and you don't do the work. Or you're like, okay, I'm going to get through this, but there's going to be a clear end to it. And you let everybody know.
Yeah.
And you're going to fulfill your obligations in between that. It's like, quitting a job. They call it, what do they call it now? Quiet quitting, where you do just enough to not get fired. And then you just slowly stop meeting your responsibilities, and then you quit. And it's like, no, here's my 2 weeks notice. That means I work
all the way
through
to the end. Yes.
You know how at the old place where I used to work, there were so many people that would give their 2 week notice, and then they would stop showing up for shifts. And it's like, what are you doing?
Why did you give 2 weeks notice?
Just going in the first place. We could have saved ourselves this conversation.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's kind of what you're talking about. Is okay if you don't want to do something anymore, but you have to commit to it to X amount of time and have an exit strategy and make sure that everybody knows what's going on. Because like I said earlier, is you can change direction, right? You can do different things to meet your goals. We often talk about how people hate their jobs and they just get up and do them and they're not happy. And so to become happy in life doesn't mean that you ignore all those responsibilities you have. You find another way to meet those responsibilities that satisfies your happiness. Is kind of the way I look at it. Yeah.
I mean,
You're still working. You're still putting yourself out there. You're still hustling. We said hustling, so now it's officially a podcast. But you just got to meet your obligations. There is no. And once they're met, you can change. You can do something different. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sticking to what we promised. We don't quit. We finish everything.
Sure.
Based on what Kevin Hart said.
Who?
Kevin
Hart?
Kevin, the short guy.
The little guy?
He's funny. I like him.
Whatever you want to say about him, that dude works.
Oh, yeah. And listen, look at anybody who's successful. And love them, hate them, it doesn't matter. Kevin Hart, Joe Rogan, freaking anybody on all levels. We don't have to go billionaires, but anybody who is successful, they work hard. They don't give up. They fix things that are broken. They don't give up just because things are hard, and that's across jiu-jitsu and life and everywhere. Even what Arin was talking about, winning a tournament, great. Go back to drawing board. Lost tournament, great. Go back to the drawing board. Right. It doesn't matter. The path is the same. Back to drawing board. Fix what didn't work. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. And again, not everybody competes, but we all do compete in some levels of life. And we do find obstacles. We do find hard things. The things don't always work. Most of the time, they don't work. And most of the time, we have to overcome things that are difficult. So we should keep pushing. Don't give up.
There you go.
Don't quit. We finish everything we start.
Don't say no. No, there is no no.
There's no no.
No.
All
right, then.
Later.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.